"You, a tiny mouse like you thinks you can help me?" he growled. But the pain in his tooth was so bad, it decided to let Millie try. Millie carefully climbed to Grizzle's rough, scaly black, her little paws steady as she made her way toward his massive jaws. The other animals watched in awe from the bushes, holding their breath. Once upon a time, there was a large and grumpy crocodile named Grizzle. Grizzle lived in a wide, winding river that ran through the heart of the forest. He believed the whole river belonged to him and would not allow anyone else to swim, play, or even drink from the river. Grizzle's sharp teeth and fierce glare were enough to scare away all the animals, and everyone knew to stay far from the river. The animals in the forest used to love the river. Birds would drink from its fresh waters. Deer would gather along the banks, and playful others would splash and dive into cool depths. But ever since Grizzle claimed it as his own, the river became a silent, lonely place. The once busy banks were now empty, and even the fish hid deep in the shadows, afraid of Grizzle's snapping jaws. One day, something unusual happened. Grizzle, who usually patrolled his river with a menacing scowl, was lying on the bank, moaning loudly. His sharp teeth, which he was so proud of, were causing him a lot of pain. One of his last teeth was loose, and his constant ache made him even grumpier than usual. He glowed and thrashed in the water, but nothing seemed to help. The noise echoed through the forest, and soon all the animals knew something was wrong with Grizzle. Most of them were still too afraid to come near the river. But the one brave little mouse named Millie decided she couldn't just sit by and do nothing. Millie was small, but she was smart and fearless. She had heard about Grizzle's toothache and knew she could help. Without hesitating, she scrambled down to the riverbank where Grizzle lay, groaning in pain. "Grizzle," Millie called out in her tiny voice, "I can help with your tooth." Grizzle opened one eye and glared at the little mouse. "You, a tiny mouse like you thinks you can help me?" he growled. But the pain in his tooth was so bad, it decided to let Millie try. Millie carefully climbed to Grizzle's rough, scaly black, her little paws steady as she made her way toward his massive jaws. The other animals watched in awe from the bushes, holding their breath. When she reached the loose tooth, Millie gave it a firm tug, but it wouldn't come out. She pulled again, harder this time, and with a final yank, the tooth popped free. Grizzle let out a sigh of relief. The pain was gone. He couldn't believe it. A tiny mouse had done what none of the other animals dared to do. He looked down at the Millie, no longer with his usual angry glare, but with gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you, Millie," Grizzle said, his voice much softer than before. "You've helped me more than I could ever repay." Millie smiled up at him. "You don't need to repay me, Grizzle, but maybe you could be kinder to the other animals and let them share the river with you." Grizzle thought about it. He had always guarded the river because he believed it was his, but now he realized that sharing wouldn't hurt him. In fact, maybe having friends to swim and play would make life much more enjoyable. From that day on, Grizzle changed. He no longer scared away the animals or claimed the river for himself. Instead, he welcomed everyone to come and enjoy it. The birds, deers, otters, and even the fish returned, and the river once again became a lively, happy place of splashing, laughter, and the sounds of animals playing together. As for Grizzle, he was no longer the grumpy crocodile that everyone feared. He smiled more often, and he had Millie to thank for teaching him the importance of kindness and sharing. Grizzle learned that when you help others and share what you have, life becomes much richer and happier. And so, the river flowed peacefully, full of life, and Grizzle, the once grumpy crocodile, smiled as he watched his new friends enjoy the waters he once guarded so fiercely. Moral of the story: kindness and sharing bring happiness not only to others but also to ourselves. When we choose to be generous and help those in need, we create a more joyful and peaceful world among us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more interesting videos.